Apostles presented by the Unafraid Show. Oh, so much to talk about today because one of the top recruits for Deion Sanders again announces his commitment on the television and how good that is for Deion Sanders and the brand and what happens if they make the college football playoff. There's a lot of talking by a lot of coaches going on at this point in time. They are fighting over the college football playoff. And how did Alabama play Mercer and then jump Miami? Oh, dude, we got so much to talk about. It was recruiting news. We got to pick games and everything in between here on the College Football Apostles. Let's get to the show. So, Ralph, we'll start the day with JuJu Lewis, Julian Lewis. Kid, I've had a chance to meet with my kids at the quarterback coaching, the quarterback training stuff, and he was committed to USC. He was committed. And now he is now committed to Colorado. This was the worst kept secret in all of college football. And then that actually led USC to begin recruiting Hassan Longstreet, who's a kid from out here in LA who was committed to Texas A&M. And I was actually surprised that Texas A&M lost his commitment, but he is an LA kid. I've met him a few times. He's probably going to be better suited being close to home. And he wanted to play for Lincoln Riley and USC, but Lincoln Riley only recruits one quarterback at a time, which is actually a cool thing to do. And for college football coaches to actually do that, then he was able to flip Hassan Longstreet. But this was an announcement that happened on television again. And Deion has the propensity for that. This time it was on Pat McAfee's show. How big is this, I guess, for Colorado?
I mean, they get Shador 2.0.
Yeah, they get the heir apparent. Okay.
Yeah, they're not that different as far as size and play style. Shador isn't running. JuJu Lewis isn't running.
No.
That's why I always thought it was an interesting commitment for Lincoln Riley, because think about the quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley has had that don't get out and move.
Yep.
Spencer Rattler, who he gave up on,
Yep.
and Miller Moss, who he gave up on. So, I mean, it never made much sense to me, but one thing we've been really clear about on this show, Lincoln Riley gets to pick who his quarterback is.
Yes.
He gets
That's
to pick.
actually that he's done it enough times that he does get to pick who his quarterback is. And that there are going to be plenty of people that want to play for Lincoln Riley because he's had so many Heisman Trophy winners. And you know that you're going to put up numbers.
Did you see Hassan Longstreet's quote
No,
about
what?
why he chose USC?
No, what was the reason why?
I mean, I could probably start this sentence and you could finish it. What made USC right for me is what Coach Riley has done in the past. It's not nobody is going to play for USC right now based on like the future is bright for USC. No one's saying like we see what they're building because they've not been good. It's 5 guys the other day all started NFL games who were coached by Lincoln Riley on the same weekend. If you are an elite quarterback and you see that, why would you listen to anyone else?
Yeah. No, that's definitely fair because he has a history and a track record. And a lot of the quarterbacks are having success out in the NFL. Like it's not like any of them are just trash. I mean, and Caleb Williams, even though he's struggling as a rookie, he's had some good moments, and he's still a rookie. So there's no reason to believe that the magic sauce for quarterbacks has rubbed off of Lincoln Riley. Um, the question though is about Colorado, right? Because Deion has clearly turned this thing around. But now the question that everybody's going to be asking is, can he do it without Shador? Can he do it without Travis Hunter? And I do think that that's a challenge for Deion. That he's sitting there thinking, oh, really? Y'all don't think I got it? Okay, cool. Because people have been talking about him going to, the Dallas Cowboys. And if one more person, Ralph, if one more person says Deion Sanders to the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to scream. I am literally going to scream and take my shirt off and run down the street like a crazy person. And then they're like, and no draft Shador too. What are we talking about? Dak Prescott's dead cap number, if you trade him or cut him, is like $195 million. And it's like 150 for next season. You mean to tell me you're gonna draft Shador? It's like, stop it. And remember, just 10 months ago, actually just 10 months ago, what was the take about Deion as a coach? The consensus, by not the consensus, but the majority of people, what was the feeling about him out in the world, about him coaching?
Well, the stuff that we were facing down was that he was a ringmaster, not a
Yeah.
coach.
Yep. And now all of a sudden, maybe he should be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not saying that he can't.
The Dallas Cowboys need a ringmaster. They do though.
But think about that. Just 10 games has now turned him. He's the same guy that lost all those games last year as this one. Now, granted, he has made some changes and some adjustments and gotten better. But he's like, if you're willing to hire Deion now, like he didn't, like there wasn't some sort of magic, like you were touched by the hand of God in the last 10 months. It was either already on you or it wasn't. And it's funny how you can go from sugar to shit real fast or shit to sugar real fast. Look at Tom Herman, who just got fired from FAU. Dude, he was the hottest name in college football coaching. Like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. The hottest name. And now he just got fired from FAU. And this is a funny story and I just did a video on this because FAU does a very unique thing when they fire their coaches. And it's funny. It's funny, but it's smart. So they owe Tom Herman a little over $4 million in a coaching buyout. And depending on what state that you live in, think about Mel Tucker. When Michigan State knew that they were going to fire Mel Tucker, they had to put him on administrative leave first. And when they put him on administrative leave, you knew that he was going to be fired, but that's just the rules of the state on how they have to work when you fire a state employee and everything else. So what FAU does in their contracts is, so they fired Tom Herman as the head football coach, but they did not fire him from the university. And they did the same thing to Willie Taggart. And what they did is, instead of firing them and just paying a buyout, no, they just reassigned them. They reassigned them to a job that they do not want to do. Willie Taggart was assigned to be facilities manager, to work under the facilities manager, and was told to report to work at 9 a.m. on Monday. But you can then resign from that position for a price, for a certain buyout. I'm actually not mad at FAU for that. I'm not mad. Imagine if Texas A&M could have moved Jimbo Fisher to the facilities manager, or like ticket passer out or assigner. And if he wanted to quit that job, he can pay whatever his buyout was for leaving to another coaching job. I don't think he had one, which is crazy. But let's say it was like $5 million. Wouldn't Texas A&M feel better for getting another $5 million, $12 million, $8 million back? Just
Sure,
a
yeah.
little bit better.
For making Jimbo Fisher the yell leader?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. You must be an official Texas A&M yell leader. Yes. Hey,
So
hey, it's okay. We love you anyway.
Did you hear what else happened at FAU?
No, what?
So Tom Herman, right before he got fired, he fired his defensive coordinator, Rock
Okay.
Bellantoni. And then so he fires the DC. The athletic director fires Tom Herman, and then Chad Lunsford, who is the interim head coach, rehires Rock Bellantoni to come back and be the
Oh,
defensive
yes.
coordinator
Yes,
for
I
the
did
duration
see
of the
that. Oh,
season.
my God. I was like, yo, if that's not the biggest slap in the face. But now, supposedly, Ray Lewis is well. There were rumors that Ray Lewis was going to be the potential candidate for a head coach at FAU. FAU, I believe, put out something that was like, "Yo, Ray Lewis is not a candidate. Ray Lewis should not be a candidate for FAU's coaching job. You know who should be if you want to hire a former player?
Who?
Eddie George, who's coaching over at Tennessee State and has the team 8-2 right now. He's been coaching for a couple of years. If you want a former player, go get Eddie George and then send Ray Lewis to Tennessee State. Do that.
Why do you think Adam Schefter dropped Ray Lewis's name like that was realistic? Does Ray Lewis have an agent and he's trying to get into coaching? Does he see what Ed Reed's up to? And like what was the point of that? I don't understand, because that rumor lasted all of 2 hours before Ross Dellinger was like, yeah, no, that's not happening. No Ray Lewis.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. I was like, what are we doing here, fam? What are we doing? It's not that Ray Lewis maybe can't be a good head coach, but we're just gonna give him the reins to a college. Like you have to have some previous experience here, people. We have to have some, at least be an assistant coach. Some, I mean, this is like when the Texans wanted to hire oh gosh, what's the former quarterback's name? Josh McCown.
McCown.
Yes, when they wanted to hire
No
Josh McCown
experience.
with no previous coaching experience. None.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. So don't give me it's a oh, you're just saying that because the black man, the white man always no, we don't, man. We don't want him neither. We don't want
Hey,
no inexperienced people coaching. At
well,
least give me a high school coach and then send him to the minors for a minute, then call him up to the big leagues, man. This is we've gotten outrageous. Yes, because you are a Hall of Famer, you get to jump the line when it comes to broadcasting. You get a chance to jump the line in other areas. But when it comes to like things that you actually have to have some core competencies in, and some experience. Like you don't even know how to deal with stuff with media day. You don't know how to, deal with stuff with the administration. You got to at least sit there and watch for a couple years.
yeah. Let me say this: as an Arizona State supporter, hiring somebody who's never sat down with the rule book.
hey, guess who was on my show last night too on Mad Dog?
Who was on your show?
Herm. So Herm comes on
Oh
probably
my!
once every 2 weeks, and I have to resist the urge to ask him about Arizona State. I don't. I never do. We only talk NFL because I feel like it would be totally improper for me to just sideline. I mean, for me to just nuke him like that in the middle of a football interview. But
So I got to tell
but
you what happened
it
this
just
week.
burns me. I'm like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. Don't do it. It's
Well,
my intrusive thoughts.
well, you're going to keep having intrusive thoughts because a lot of the stuff he says is really about like his leadership tendencies, right? So anytime he mentions anything about delegating, I'd be like, anytime. It's like, dude, it's like if you had a science teacher, you knew they were going through divorce or something like that, and they're standing up at the front of the class and they're like, "This is how you break up atoms," and as a student, you're just sitting there like, "Break up, huh?" Like it's, it's impossible to listen to her. So here's what happened this week. There's a International Suppliers Association. I'm not into like big corporate B2B stuff, but there's this huge convention that happens every year in Nashville, and they hired Herm Edwards as the conference's opening speaker. And it's got like a boat, it's got like a golf tournament. It's like this whole weekend thing, and it's opening with Herm Edwards. And the International Suppliers Association, they've been on Twitter for 15 years. Every day they craft a tweet, they put it out. No one has ever replied to a single tweet they've ever posted, ever, not once. So they announced the Herm Edwards thing, and it was like, Herm Edwards is going to come in and talk to us about like attention to detail. And I quote tweeted it, and all I wrote, the only thing I wrote was attention to detail. That's it. I didn't write anything else. I just rewrote those words. Again, no one has ever replied to a single tweet that the International Suppliers Association has ever posted.
They were probably shocked when they were like, what the hell are all these replies about?
Whoever runs that social media is going to open it to hundreds of notifications, and every single one of them is somebody with a pitchfork avatar. So it's literally like coming to the pitchforks, and it is the angriest stuff you've ever read in your life.
Oh my God.
And so whoever manages that social media, they are going to have, I mean, if they've opened it the last couple of days, have just the wildest morning of like, what did we do? What is so bad about this like vanilla guy who's never offended anyone? Like, there's a city in the Southwest that does not feel that way.
100%. 100. Bro, that is hilarious. Like, what are we doing here? Like, are we sure that we want him there? Now, I don't want to mess up Herm Edwards' money, but that is hilarious and ironic. And it also just shows why college football is literally the greatest sport that there is. Because fans, the man been gone. Arizona State's having a 10-2 season. Might get to the college football playoff. They are better off than they were. They should be thanking Herm Edwards for giving them Kenny Dillingham. But instead, like, while we're having our great season, we're going to make sure you don't have anything great too.
I just hear
poisoning the damn tree.
So I just want to read. I want to read like the first tweet that pops up when you click on this. So ISA Association, 1,600 followers. They post a tweet every single day. This one has hundreds of replies. So you open this tweet, it says, announcing the ISA 25 opening keynote, Herm Edwards, ESPN NFL and NFL analyst. Joining us, he explores how focusing on the little things can lead to executing big visions, both on and off the field. Get the details, click here now. And so the first reply is, Herm Edwards eats dinner while sitting on the toilet.
My God.
The next reply, does he consider NCAA regulations little things? The next one, tell that fraud coward to return the money he owes to ASU for burning the program to the ground. And then there will go, there's 95 more of that exact same thing.
Dude, you can see, you got to look at it glass half full. That's what I said. He burned it down so it can come anew. Genius move, Herm. Genius move. All right, the college football playoff. Ralph, we thought the election was over with, but I told everybody, the propaganda was just beginning. The propaganda was just beginning. And we saw these talking points happening last year with Florida State. It took them 3 weeks to discredit Florida State enough to where they did not get into the college football playoff, the 14 playoff last year. And this year, the discrediting of, all right, Indiana. Indiana's one that if they lose to Ohio State, maybe that's a one. If we talk about this enough, the committee, who clearly responds to the outside noise, will then respond and drop Indiana all the way out of the college football playoff if they lose to Ohio State, because that's their only noticeable win. Well, how about Michigan last year? Yes, they beat Ohio State at the very end of the season, but they had nothing before that. How about Texas? And then they're like, well, look at all these 2-loss SEC teams. The conference is so great. Okay. It would be different if the only losses that the top SEC teams had was like Tennessee losing to Georgia, or Georgia losing to Alabama, Ole Miss beating Georgia. Like that would be if like that would be fine. Like Georgia, I got no problem there because Georgia's only two losses are to Ole Miss and to Alabama. But then you look at Ole Miss lost to Kentucky.
That's yeah. Ole Miss,
Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Like what? Don't lose that game and then come talk to us.
right?
Like we don't feel sorry for you losing to mid-T. Do you think that anybody will have any sympathy for Penn State if they lose to Minnesota this weekend?
No,
That's the equivalent of losing to Arkansas or losing to Vanderbilt. It's the exact equivalent. So don't lose that game to a middle tier team and then come and have the conversation about, oh yeah, our schedule is just so brutal. You know, it dude, the propaganda is on max. And whatever side of the fence that you sit on, people are like they can't see things objectively. They can't. They refuse to. They're like, I was listening to Ryen Rusillo, a clip from Ryen Rusillo and Todd McShay. And he said, in what world should, you know, Indiana and Indiana, BYU and these teams, Miami, be ranked in front of Alabama and Georgia and Ole Miss? They're not better than them. They're just not. I was like, okay, why? Why, Todd? Tell me why. They're just not. Because why though? Is there any objective data that you have but besides your broken eye test that is going to tell me, or because you are so in love with the logos? And we are in a new normal season where you're going to have outliers like Indiana pop up and be able to wreck you.
which is
And
what they've been doing.
yes, yes, they have torn everybody to pieces in front of them except for Michigan. And you know what? Ohio State ain't gonna tear Michigan to pieces next week either. I'm just letting everybody know that they are not.
No one, first of all, no one tears Michigan to pieces. They're
Correct.
they're they might be like Timu brand Teflon, but they're Teflon. They're tough.
Yes.
They're tough.
And
So
if Will Johnson and company are back for that Ohio State game, Ohio State just lost their starting center. They've lost 3 starting linemen on a shaky offensive line already. And they're losing a potential Remington Award winner this year, a potential All-American. And you think that that's not so now they got to shuffle the deck again on the offensive line against Indiana? How do you think that's going to work for this week and next week? And then do you know what Mason Graham is going to do to whoever's playing center next week? Oh,
yeah,
him and Cam Branton. Oh God. Dude, Will Howard is going to be running for his life next week.
and I know transitive property. It's a trick, right? But
Yep.
sometimes you do need to reference it, and not so much as like, will this team beat this team? So because styles make fights, you've always said that. But look at the reaction to win, and I'm only talking about fan reaction. Ohio State lines up against Nebraska, they win that game. After that game, probably 75% of the chronically online Ohio State fan base was like, we have to fire Ryan Day after a win. We have to. We're done with it. I don't care that we won. We need to change coaches in the middle of the season
Yeah.
in our national championship. We have to fire the coach. They wanted to pull like a Major League Baseball, remove the manager in the middle of the season, even if you're already like in the playoffs and we'll be
Yeah.
fine. That was what happened after they played Nebraska. After Indiana played that same Nebraska team, the boosters were all on the phone with each other trying to figure out how they could triple their head coach's salary.
Yeah.
Like this is not. It's not. It. And Ryen Rusillo is Mr. Watch the games. Watch Indiana.
Yep.
Watch them. It maybe more so. Maybe this like feeds into the whole Ryan Day thing more than anything. College football, the coach might have more to do with what happens on the field than literally any other sport. Because it's not like Curt Cignetti is out here with a bunch of great players, and they are killing teams.
Yep.
Offensively, defensively, pass game, run game. This week, Joey Galloway said they should just take that L to Ohio State with Curtis Work sitting on the bench. They had Curtis Work on the bench already once. They won.
Do you know what is crazy? Is that the national media is not giving Indiana a chance in this game. They are 2 touchdown favorites. I'm sorry, they're 2 touchdown dogs. They're not giving them a chance. The fact that uh, Joey Galloway said they should sit their quarterback and just lay down. How about Ohio State? How about you sit Will Howard? How about that? That would have been my response because I
Against
don't
Oregon?
know that. Like, yes, Indiana has not been tested like some of these other teams have been tested. However, though, they can win this football game. Like, let's not make and all the talk has been, oh well, they got to have a close loss. How much of a victory spread do they get left out of the playoffs? This is why I said the propaganda is on max. And the SEC is going to have to make some decisions after this year because they don't want to go to 9 conference games because they understand that replacing Georgia playing Wofford this week, Alabama playing Mercer last week, and the rest of the November cupcakes is going to put them in a situation where the conference does not look that it's cannibalizing itself every single year. And it's funny, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. When the SEC had elite football teams, Georgia, Alabama, LSU in 2019, teams that they had 2 or 3 teams a year that nobody else in the conference could beat. That's it. And then everybody else would kind of, be, and then they'd be like, well, yeah, but we got elite teams. Don't worry about everybody else. And now that's what the Big Ten is looking like. And it's like, wait, no. The conference is just so deep. It is so difficult. It's impossible to fade it. Like Kentucky's really good. What do you mean?
They're not.
Exactly.
That's a crazy thing is though. So you and I, we watch too much college football.
Yes.
You might say there is no such a. We watch too much college football. Kentucky is not good. They're not bad, but they're not good. But the truth is, they're 1-6 in the SEC, and they do have a win over what I consider to be the most talented team on the whole eastern side of the United States. I think Ole Miss could meet Oregon in the national championship. They could get hot and they could do it. They have everything you would want. They have a running. They don't have Judkins. They hate that, but they have a running game. They are probably the best passing team in the SEC by far. They're probably the best pass rushing team in the SEC by far. They play real great man coverage. But they lost to Kentucky, and the results are the results. Kentucky is 1-6, and their only win in the SEC is over Ole Miss. And at some point, the results have to determine whether or not you get into the playoff or what your positioning is, no matter what your potential is. That's just how it is. And so to see SEC fans saying like, well, it's hard, Yeah, we do know. Like we watched the Pac-12.
We've
We watched
seen
the Pac-12 9 conference games, having to travel 2,000 miles while staying on the same coast to play some of these games, and it's hard. It's really, really hard to win out.
Yep. And we gonna see what the SEC is talking about because at least half of the teams are gonna have to go on the road in the playoffs. At least half the teams. So 2 out of the 4 teams that are going to make it. I know they want 5, but I am so happy that the committee did not put 5 SEC teams in the bracket this week. That would have set a terrible precedent. Terrible precedent. Like, nah, bro, y'all gonna get 4 teams. That's what you're gonna get. And then, but y'all figure out how to work out your own little conference schedule. That way you can get a better result. Because if you ended up with the SEC teams playing 10 Power 5 games, you would have less of a mess, much less of a mess on who's going to make the college football playoff. But that goes to Lane Kiffin's comments, where Lane Kiffin, and this, he's not wrong because there is no answer for it yet, but it is soft. Where he said that, oh, listen, I've talked to a bunch of coaches around here. They don't even really necessarily want to play in the SEC championship game because what if you lose? What? That's what we talking about.
That's
That's why you got
weird.
2 losses right now. That's why you lost to Kentucky. That's
That's
that.
weird.
Yeah. And their other loss, who was that to? The LSU?
Yes,
Yeah.
which doesn't
So
look very good. Let
yeah,
us
so you
in.
lost to 2 bad football teams.
We'll take it. We'll take
A
it.
mid football team and a bad football team.
The
And
Big
you're
12
well,
is about. Well, the Big 12 is about to have a 4-way tie, probably like a 4-way tie to see who gets the 2 spots for the Big 12 championship.
no, because BYU and Arizona State play each other, so that'll make it not a. So if you go 2-0 between Colorado, BYU, and Arizona State, you go 2-0, you make the Big 12 championship.
But not if Cincinnati beats BYU. There's like a weird scenario where Iowa State backdoors in. There's still a bunch of you could have, but my point is you could have 4 or 5 10-2 Big 12 teams.
Yeah.
Okay. Give us the SEC championship too. We'll play in that too.
Yeah.
You don't want to play in that? Take your SEC, your number 1 seed in the SEC, and then kick over the number 3 Big 12 team. We'll play you. We're not soft. We'll give you
Yeah.
BYU. We'll send BYU over to play Georgia or whatever. We don't care. Well, you really, really talk to a bunch of coaches that don't want to play in a championship game?
Well,
Grow up.
yeah, but then we could have 3 losses. I am in favor of the teams that make the conference championship, particularly in the Big Ten and SEC. You got to get in the college football playoff
Yeah.
above the
Yeah.
teams that don't make it. So I'm
Yes.
not penalizing you. You are going to make it. I don't know how we got to Jimmy rig this thing, but you gonna be in. And right now in the SEC, it appears that Tennessee is on the outside looking in. But what happens if Texas A&M beats Texas in 2 weeks? Well, that's going to change the whole dynamic of everything, Ralph, because Texas, their best win is Vanderbilt, and that was close. And then their next best win is what? Arkansas? Arkansas? So all of that Indiana talk, make sure y'all apply that to Texas if they lose to Texas A&M. But here's the thing is, the SEC will sacrifice Texas, Ralph. I believe that they will sacrifice Texas because Texas just got there. They will give them the Missouri, like they will Missouri and Texas A&M them. Because remember when Texas A&M first got in the conference and Missouri first got in the conference, they're like, and they would lose to teams. They'd be like, yeah, but they're not real SEC. And that's exactly the way that they will do Texas. They will haze them into the conference.
Can I paint a scenario for you? I just want your reaction to it.
All right.
Big 10 champion Oregon.
Okay. Like it.
Big 12 champion Colorado or Arizona State.
Okay.
SEC champion Texas.
Okay.
ACC champion SMU.
Ooh.
Zero.
Miami gone. Miami gone at that point.
Zero.
That would be heartbreaking for them. Oh my God, if they missed the playoff.
So all four major conferences have a champion that was not in their conference last year.
Boom.
That would be a lot of swallowed pride.
Yeah. Like just come up in the new place. F yo couch. Like putting stains on the couch, just disrespecting, not coming in with no humility, coming in just knocking stuff over. Cause you've seen that Oregon commercial where they're like, we're oh man, we're so happy to be in the Big Ten, you know, all the traditions and everything, and then they bring out the motorcycle doing donuts on it. Hey, dude, I love it. I love it.
Hey, so is Oregon in the Big Ten
Yes,
championship? Is that
yes,
already locked
yes.
in? God dang.
This is how
It's
convoluted
November
that
21st. It's
they
not even
went through
Thanksgiving.
so many scenarios and trying to figure out, you know, who was in, who's out. Like, did Oregon clinch a spot? And they finally figured it out. Was it on Monday afternoon? Oh, yes. We went through all 17 or 18 scenarios, and we couldn't find one where Oregon didn't make either the number one or number two seed in it. And I was like, love it. Love it.
Imagine you're a defensive lineman sitting in your econ class and you just get a text 5 in the afternoon. You made the Big Ten championship.
You're like,
You're just
oh,
sitting in
cool.
sweats in class.
Yep. Mm-mm-mm.
Oh my gosh.
But this has led to a lot of coaches talking trash, and I like it. And Jake Dickert over at Washington State is one of the two, because it's like people used the thing that the enemy of my enemy is now my friend. So people are thinking that Washington State and Oregon State are now aligned in simpatico because they were left in the Pac-12, but now they're galvanized together as unifying partners against everybody else out in the world. And Washington State's like, no, because Oregon State would have left us too if they could have. So no. So middle finger to them. Best of luck, because
I,
Washington State's in a much better position than Oregon State is right now.
I've gone back and forth on Jake Dicker, but this one really won me over. I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what has everybody been talking about for the last year? Like the Pac-2, we're leftovers. Do you think we wanted this? Do you think we wanted to be in a situation where it was just the two of us left over? It's like that that TV show where the world ends and it's like literally the last two people on Earth. In Tucson,
Yeah.
Arizona, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
But they hate each other. There's
And
only
they're
two
just
people left in the world, and they hate each other. I love that. I love that because that's what they were never really friendly when it was the Pac-12. It was a little bit of a nasty game
yeah.
year in and year out, especially because they're both trying to emerge at the same time. So credit to Jake Dickert for saying like, "Hey, this isn't warm and fuzzies.
Dude, it
We
was
don't want to
like
be here
that
either."
episode of Will of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will Smith's dad comes back and then he leaves, and you know Will's all upset, and Uncle Phil confronts him, and he's like, "Do you think I wanted this? It just happened." And that's what Jake Dickert said. You
All
think I
right,
wanted this? It just happened.
can I ask you a question?
Yep.
That is a top 5 most influential episode of TV for me.
Oh my God.
But I've had enough conversations with you. Top 2, it's got to
Yes,
be up
dude.
there with like
I
a
never thought that,
This Is Us.
dude. Yes, it rivals This Is Us. The difference between This Is Us, and that episode of Fresh Prince of Bel Air is because that episode of Fresh Prince of Bel Air was so emotional, and the reason why it was so powerful is that it was a departure from the levity and the comedy that usually it was. Like they did have serious moments, but it never got that serious, and it was never that serious for Will ever. And but This Is Us and the Parenthood. Oh my god! I mean, it was just so regular and evoking of emotions that it just became common practice. So yes, they're powerful every time, but just that one is just more because it was from an unexpected location. It's like when Jim Carrey first started trying to do dramatic movies. You were
Okay.
like, what? But then if you get it right, you get it right.
Yeah, I think I had to like ding a bell because that's probably like our 100th reference of that episode of Fresh Prince on the College Football Apostles podcast.
You were right about that. And then you had Deshaun Foster talking trash too, because it is UCLA USC week. I think it's supposed to rain this weekend. Take that on for size, buddy. So the game is on Saturday. It is supposed to rain on Saturday. Bruh. Come on, man. Kid got a game every playoff game. I'm not that parent that wants to sit out outside in the rain. And I was supposed to go to the UCLA USC game. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not sitting out in the rain for strangers. I'm not sitting out in the rain for strangers.
Did you hear 700 recruits will be there?
What?
That's what Deshaun Foster said. We're going to have 700 recruits there. And when I first heard that, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And then I was like, well, it probably got room for like 1,500 actually. They got room in the bowl.
No, it'll be full. Well, so if USC wasn't so bad, it would be full. And about a month ago, we would have never thought that this game would even be competitive. And now I actually think UCLA has a legitimate shot to win this football game.
Well, they're 3-1 in their last 4.
Check this out, though. Check this out. If UCLA wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got one more game left after that. They could be going to a bowl game. And if they beat USC, USC's not going to a bowl game. Think about that, because USC is not going to beat Notre Dame. So
and they'll turn down a 5-7 bowl. I think USC would turn it down.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm rooting for UCLA. I know you are. I know you.
Why would I be? I don't have a rooting interest in this game, Ralph.
Happy wife, happy life, my friend. You really want to walk? You really want to walk around on Sunday, day after a USC loss?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Life will be much happier with the alternative. All right. So Tommy Tuberville, who I have grown to despise when it comes to his not as a human being. I don't know the man, but as a former college football coach who now comments on things, it is gross. And basically his statement was that he, now that Trump is in office, that he wants to get Congress to now act in the best interest of college football, which is to stop all of this player movement. Stop all of this. And I'm like, do you understand that these lawsuits have already passed us by, buddy? These lawsuits have already gone to the Supreme Court. They've gone to appellate courts and everything in between. And you think that you're going to get some sort of congressional action that's going to then undo that? And then that no more transfers. He was like, no, they commit to being there long term, and this is getting annoying. Fool, you literally committed and then broke a contract to go take another coaching job. The irony, dude, it is gross. It is like people who are like, or people in our government sometimes when they get to talking that, like, all gay people should go to hell, and then one of their kids ends up gay, or you find out that they've been in the closet for a very long time. This is what this feels like, because people don't have tolerance for things until it shows up at their doorstep and they got to make a choice. And Tommy Tuberville, it's like the coaches. That's why I've had no sympathy for not one single solitary coach that complains about the transfer portal or NIL. None of them. If Dan Lanning was complaining about it, I would be calling him soft too. The problem is that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if coaches don't have to honor their commitments that they made to players when they recruited them, to their families, I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna take care of your son and this and that, then why should the players have to honor that? And especially when they weren't making money, and a lot of them aren't making very much money right now. This is insanity.
So the last bill that Tommy Tuberville tried to get enacted was it would punish players. Basically, it required them to complete 3 years of eligibility before they could transfer without penalty. So and that's something like the Supreme Court would never uphold. Conservative Supreme Court would never uphold. So now he's on this thing where he's saying, he said, I don't think it's right to go out and start offering $500,000 contract to a 10th grader in high school.
Why not?
I don't think you should be able to recruit with money. I think you should recruit with your school and your salesmanship, but then you get there and you give them the opportunity to make money. And so, everything
What?
he's going at is like, you he it is very natural for somebody of his age and experience to not like the direction of college football. That's natural. That's not what we're questioning. But this idea that he wants to make it you to be able to penalize athletes for not living up to or leaving in the middle of NIL based contracts or something like that, it's a tough sell coming from him because he walked out on 2 different contracts, walked out on 2 different teams without having a conscience whatsoever about either situation when he went to Auburn and then when he went to Cincinnati. In both of those situations, left a bunch of people high and dry, left in the middle of a contract. And it's very much a rules for thee and not for me situation. But also, on a fundamental level, he doesn't actually have his finger on the pulse of college football. He doesn't.
No.
He came out this week and he said Indiana bought this football team. In what world? They're starting a bunch of JMU transfers.
Yep.
Bought like for less money than Pete Carroll was getting to USC players when it wasn't legal. Bought? Like I don't know about that.
Yeah, they bought this team. Do you know how quick them players were to be like? He was like, "Yo, I'm going to Indiana." They were like, "Okay, cool. All right, we'll be there in 2 weeks." Like that's what it was. Yes, they're getting some level of NIL money, but it ain't. You didn't have to twist their arms to get them to leave James Madison to go to Indiana.
Yeah, that's what happened with Deion and Jackson State.
Yeah, you didn't have
Like,
to twist their damn arm to get them to go. It was like, okay, cool, coach, we out of here with you.
I think he commands a certain level of respect on the issue because Congress is so detached from this, and it really shouldn't be something that Congress is having to worry about anyway. The NCAA should have been really, really far ahead of this in the first place.
Yep.
But what bothers me about it is it's market manipulation, like trying to get out in front of this and put legislation into place from a congressional standpoint. It's not the conservatism that I remember, which is like let the market work itself out. Now, the NCAA is in need of some legal assistance to get some unified rules across the table because of how far behind they were, right? But it's not like I don't know.
But we can't be giving them antitrust exemptions and letting them do whatever the hell they want. No, absolutely not.
But this goes back to like what we talked about. Should Herm be talking about attention to detail at a leadership conference? Should Tommy Tuberville be talking about loyalty to soil in college football? Like just because you have experience in industry doesn't mean that people should listen to you. I'm not going to talk to Bernie Madoff about investment strategy right now.
No, you are 100% right because you were Ponzi scheming this. So I don't even know if you actually know what you're talking about. Yeah, and Tommy Tuberville has no idea how to coach, recruit in this current landscape of college football. Stand on the sidelines, buddy. Stand on the sidelines and just stop talking. Um, all right. We also have so the Heisman talk about Travis Hunter versus Ashton Jeanty. If Ashton Jeanty was at any other school, he would win the Heisman Trophy. What Travis Hunter is doing is amazing, playing both sides of the ball. All of this. I like him better as a wide receiver than I do as a DB. Part of it is because he doesn't get a chance to practice as much as other people do because he's practicing so much on offense and defense that he's not mastered either position. But wide receiver, he seems to be better at. In the Utah game, he got cooked on defense. Cooked. Like the same way Buddy did against Oregon, the corner for Ohio
No,
State.
we're not. Wait, Denzel Burke is from Arizona. I protect him at all costs.
Okay, but he did get cooked.
Get cooked.
And Travis Hunter got cooked against Utah. Corners sometimes get cooked. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
And but this runaway Heisman thing that on November 2nd, the Heisman is decided. I'm sorry, 21st, that the Heisman is decided is weird to me. It's weird. And if you notice, it feels like there's an intentional not talking about Ashton Jeanty on purpose.
Yeah, here is the one thing that you've always been right about. I mean, I'm sure there's more than one thing, but in on this particular subject is you are a big believer in that there has to be a marketing campaign,
Yes.
like a groundswell. You're mad at Arizona State for not,
Yes,
and they're really
Cam Scatterbull should be talked about in the same breath as Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter. The dude is carrying the team on his back. He should need herniated disc surgery after the season.
He might get it. but like so
he should be an Arizona State legend.
But you would have to admit Colorado is putting on an absolute masterclass of marketing. They should be applauded. They're going on shows like and also like this is very Tebow-esque in that like if you mention Deion Sanders or Colorado, you're gonna get page views. They know this. So like every single thing, and I'm a Rivals affiliate covering high school football, right? Rivals social media, Yahoo social media, if you talk about Deion Sanders, they will make an Instagram post. Like because anything involving Deion gets reaction. So any opportunity that Deion has, that Shiloh has, that Shador has, even Shador is campaigning for Travis Hunter when really Shador's name belongs in there as well. But to have your own teammate unify behind your Heisman campaign when you're a legitimate contender, that's badass. Like, and they could get two people on the stage. They could if they keep winning.
Yes. And the Shador thing, Shador's done a couple of things in the last month that have been highly impressive to me, right? Highly impressive about his character, about who he is as a person, everything in between. Number one is the first thing that you just said. The fact that he's now promoting Travis Hunter the way there's no splitting of the vote. That's a selfless act. Because I guarantee you he had dreams of winning a Heisman Trophy. But he's probably going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. And as a quarterback, you got to be willing to pump your teammates up, right? That's amazing. And then I tweeted about this yesterday. Do you see what he's doing now? All the quote unquote best and the guys who are typically going to be drafted the highest go to the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. The Reese's Yuck. By the way, in case you are new to the College Football Apostles and you didn't come over from the Pac-12 Apostles, Reese's Pieces, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, all of them suck. Um, Peanut butter and chocolate don't go good together. It's a terrible combination. It's yeah. So let's just get that out of the way. But the Reese's Senior Bowl, that's where they normally go. Well, Shadur Sanders is now going to the East West Shrine game. And you might be like, well, why? He probably was able to negotiate some more of his teammates getting invited to the East West Shrine game. And if Shadur is there to work out, how many, yes, that they all send scouts to the East West Shrine game practices and everything else. But how many more general managers and head coaches and the actual decision makers are going to be at the East West Shrine practice because he's there that wouldn't ordinarily be there that are going to get eyes on all the players playing in the East West Shrine game?
No, I agree. And I think I saw something come out that like Colorado's going to have more people at the East West Shrine game than anyone ever or
Yep.
something like
Yeah, they
that.
have like 6 players going.
So since we're on the topic of Shadur, I got another question for you because they talked about Deion stepping in and pulling an Archie, right?
He should.
But I don't think he's going to have to. I don't think he's going to have to because the New York Giants have entered tank mode. He would
Yep.
let Shadur go to New York. That would be good
Yes,
for him.
for sure.
Regardless of how dysfunctional they've been, it's the New York Giants.
Yeah, and there's no reason to believe that Brian Dable can't develop a quarterback.
Right. And the other team that currently has the worst record in football is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Ooh. Will
And
Antonio Pierce be the yeah, but I don't know if he wants him going to Vegas if Antonio Pierce and that general manager are there just because they don't have a history of developing, because that's one of the things that he said. Maybe if they change their, get the proper offensive coordinator that he approves of or quarterback coach, maybe that will entice him. But I would be iffy about the Raiders situation only because I haven't seen Antonio Pierce develop a quarterback. And that's not to his fault. He just hasn't had an opportunity to.
so if Deion Sanders is willing to step in to guide which team can get Shadur, would he stop Travis Hunter from going somewhere like Charlotte, North Carolina, or
Yes.
Cleveland, Ohio?
Yes.
So you think he'll try to do both?
Oh, for sure. For sure. For sure. And that's why it's going to be very attractive to kids to go to Colorado because Juju's like, oh, I'm gonna be in the commercials with Deion now. Like, I'm going to get all of these ancillary benefits, and then whoever the new Travis Hunter is, that's who. Like, and there's gonna be some sell there. All right. Now we got to get to the games because there's a lot of games this weekend.
Hold on, can I ask you one more question before we get
Okay.
to the game?
Yep.
Did the House settlement get Biff Poggi fired?
Okay, so Biff Poggi was the head coach over at Charlotte. He used to be the head coach at
St.
what's that?
Francis.
Yes, at St. Francis over there in Baltimore. Built it up. Man made 100 million plus. Then and
Not
paid for all
coaching
the
St. Francis. Not
yeah
coaching high school football.
yes
He made it
correct.
beforehand.
He made
Hedge
it
fund manager or
outside and
whatever.
basically scholarshiped all the kids to St. Francis, and then built a powerhouse program. And then
And
he's
then
over at
tried to run Charlotte with those same St. Francis kids out of the portal.
yes, did not work. But he then gets fired. Why do you think that? And the players still love him because he showed up at practice, and now he's helping Michigan. So like I would not mind Biff Poggi getting involved with my Oregon Ducks too.
Everybody loves this man. I just don't think it was an experiment. You can't hate. It's University of Charlotte. Why not? but I don't think the dude can coach. I got up close and personal look at it. They were a mess. They were a mess. And they had good players, but they didn't. I mean, it was bad, man. They were bad at football.
Yep.
So, but he helped. He probably got a ring, even though he wasn't at Michigan last year, because he really helped build up that roster. Now he's back. Um, do you think it's a matter of time before he's like officially back on staff again? Or you think it's already like a Holgerson thing, like mid-season?
Oh, he will have some role in some capacity over there. I don't know what the exact title is going to be, but it's liaison to recruits, liaison to the head coach, something.
How good for Sharon Moore was it to have Biff Poggi get fired and then come lend him support?
A lot, because Biff is connected in the recruiting world, especially. His name is good. Kids like him. You got a shot, bro. You got a shot. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Next.
I just wanted your thoughts on that one.
Um. So, all right. So now let's get to the games, right? And the biggest game we have this weekend is Indiana at Ohio State. This is a 13.5 point spread. And Kurt Sengetti has flipped his contract already from 27 million to 72 million. And this is a game where Indiana is just nobody believes in them. Nobody don't believe in you. I believe in you. Ohio State just lost their center, their starting center. They're down 3 starting offensive linemen. I believe that they're at practice, they are overlooking them, dude. They're overlooking them. And I think that Ohio State trips up this week or next week against Michigan.
I think Michigan set a pretty good blueprint for how to stop Indiana's running game. Um, and Indiana still won. I think where a lot of people are sleeping on Indiana is the fact that their defense is also legit. But the game is in Columbus, and say what you want about this Indiana team and its belief in itself. That's a tough place to play football. And you've
Yep.
pointed out that Ohio State's home schedule is not that great, but they're only giving up 118 passing yards a game at home. So
They're
if
going
you
to give
can't
up more
run
than
Indy,
118 to Indiana. I promise you that.
yeah,
I
I
don't care
don't.
who the quarterback is. If Rocky sit out, if he don't, they gonna give up more than 118 yards.
So, but we have 10 weeks of Ohio State not playing up to their potential.
Okay.
And we have 10 weeks of Indiana overplaying their potential. Shouldn't that count for something? When you're making your
Not when you
decision on,
have SEC propaganda floating around all over the place, and people can't get past the logos because Indiana's not a traditional blue blood or somebody that you even expect to be good at college football. This is their first 10-win season in the history of the entire program. But this is the number 2 scoring offense in the country, number 7 scoring defense. They got 32 rushing touchdowns in 10 games. And we're gonna sit up there and act like that this is a team that can't win. That's craziness.
I'm with you 100%. 13 and a half seems like too much. Give me the Hoosiers.
Yep. I'm taking the Hoosiers in this game too. Next game up. Why are we talking about this game, Ralph? BYU at Arizona State. Dude, Desmond Howard had no clue that Arizona State was 7-2 and probably should have been ranked last week.
You ranked them.
Yep.
I noticed that a lot of Arizona State fans were upset with Desmond Howard. Kansas State fans were upset with Desmond Howard. My angle on it is ESPN should have been upset with Desmond Howard. That was their 7 o'clock window game.
I didn't even peep that. Yes, yes, yes. They should have definitely been upset about that. Like, bro, this is a game on our network, and you basically told people,
Not to
why are we
watch.
even talking about this?
That's bad preparation. And he's been tweeting through it. Like he has not responded. Like Arizona State trolled him, the Big 12 Conference trolled him. Fans have been on him in his mentions. And I know he's pretty good at letting a lot of that stuff roll off his back, but on this one, it is 100% on him for not being clued in to his job. And you could even see like Pat McAfee, a couple other people were like, "Hey, this is like Big 12 championship implications on our channel, Desmond." And it just never even registered to him. I think a lot of stuff is overblown when people take out their frustration on one person, but like from every single angle, he comes off looking ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, because it just showed. It was like, so you didn't know Arizona State was 7-2, bro?
And College Game Day chose Columbus over Tempe this week.
Yes.
They're going to have to talk about this game. They're going to have to.
If oh yeah, yeah, there's no doubt they're gonna have to, because this game has college football, it has playoff implications for literally both teams. Oh, you know that Pat McAfee is going to give him hell on this one this week.
Somebody should. Somebody should. What do you think of this game? Because it's a weird thing where like BYU is good, and that thing you brought up earlier in the podcast about like how quickly we go from like a coach is good to a coach is bad. Think about how many times that's happened to Kalani Sitake in the last 5 years.
Yes. Oh God, he's the next greatest thing in college football. Oh, he sucks. He should be fired. Nope, never mind. He's great again. No, he should be fired. Dude, he's on this roller coaster ride of, I mean, because BYU is a team that's not going to be good every single year. They're going to have some ebbs and flows just because of what their roster demographics look like. And sometimes when it lines up, it works. And Arizona State is led by a 34-year-old head coach, which makes me feel like if I hadn't played in the NFL, I probably feel like, damn, like what am I doing with my life? This dude's 34 with a head coaching job in his second year as a head coach. What the hell am I doing? But this is unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that Kenny Dillingham doesn't even try to pretend like Kurt Sengetti's like, we knew this was gonna happen. Kenny Dillingham's like, we knew it was gonna happen, just not this year.
Yeah, and he's I don't know. He's week in, week out. He's kind of like using whatever he can to keep the team motivated, enjoying the ride. It's very fun. He feels like a college football coach. It feels like, it feels like there's a lot more pressure on BYU right now after a
Yes.
loss than there is after on Arizona State, where there was no expectations. There's going to be a lot of BYU fans at this game, man. Then Tempe is BYU South. Like there are more.
I didn't
There are
know that
more.
until you said that. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, man. There's more. I think the thing I read one time, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but just in Mesa, Arizona alone, there's over 500,000 people just in that one city.
Yeah.
And somebody told me there are more BYU graduates in the Valley in Phoenix than there are in all of Utah.
That's crazy. All right, so Arizona State is a 3-point favorite at home, trying to complete their first undefeated season at home. I'm taking Arizona State, dude. I'm riding with them. Even though BYU was winning, they were the cardiac cats. They're constantly living on the edge. You're gonna fall off. They fell off, and I think that they can get back on and get back to the Big 12 championship. I just think that we are in the middle of a special run for Arizona State, and they're probably going to end up playing Colorado in the Big 12 championship, I think. And one of them two teams, one of the little engines that could, is going to end up in the college football playoff. Unbelievable.
I have a hard time getting that 38-9 win over Kansas State out of my head. but also Kansas State was very early in what they were trying to do this year. Very early. They're a different team now, and I know Arizona State beat them last week, but they are better than they were then.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
feel
Kansas State is.
great. I don't feel great about this, but I'm gonna join you. I think BYU is tough. I just don't. I think Arizona State probably should be 9-1. They regret the Texas Tech game quite a bit. I think BYU has a couple of games that Oklahoma State game that they got away with it. I told you when they were 9-0 that last week I thought they were going to slip up.
Yep.
I think continue their slide. I think 9 wins for BYU all told at the end of the year is going to feel really good, but the
Yeah.
way they got there, I don't think will feel good.
Correct. Because as soon as expectations start running up on you, then the season will feel like a disappointment when it hasn't been disappointing at all.
No, it's a great year. So I guess give me Arizona State, but I'm really waffling. 3 points feels like exactly where it could be.
Dude, think about that. Let's say Arizona State finishes the season 7-5, right?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, no, I'm sorry. Excuse me, 8-4.
Eight
Excuse me,
and
because
four.
that's the worst
Okay.
possible thing. 8-4. If they finish 8-4, Arizona State fans are still going to be a little bit disappointed initially, but then a few weeks later, they're going to be like, "No, this was great.
Yeah.
Like this was like it. Like the fact that you have things in front of you. That's the part that brings in the disappointment. But there shouldn't actually be any disappointment because you have overachieved by every single metric.
Yeah. I just want to play as an Arizona State alum, I just want to play Colorado. I just want to have an opportunity. And it's not even like give us Bama overconfidence thing. That was a great game last year. That was probably
Yeah.
the most fun game that either team played last year in conference. Now, obviously, Colorado could be like, look at what we did versus Nebraska and TCU. But in the actual Pac-12, was that one of only 2 wins, or maybe their only
Yeah, I think
win?
that
I
was an
don't know.
early Pac-12 win last year because
But it
they
was a
started out 3-0. Yeah, because they started out 3-0, and
so
then
that's all I want. All I want is for Arizona State to be able to play Colorado. I don't care if they win or lose. Playing Colorado in Dallas is going to be more fun than any bowl game you get invited to.
No, you're right about that. Speaking of Colorado, they got a 12 p.m. kickoff against Kansas. This is a Kansas team that has beaten what 2 top 10 teams in
2
the
top 25 teams
yeah
in a row.
yes. After their horrific start to the season, their quarterback Jalen Daniels is starting to play some good football. We have talked incessantly about Colorado already. They are 3-point favorites in this game. I think they roll into, and this game's at Arrowhead Stadium. So it's not on Kansas's campus. I think that actually helps Colorado out, even though it's going to be largely Kansas fans, but you're going to have a ton of Colorado fans there. Give me Colorado -3. I think that they end up rolling in this game.
If Colorado loses this game, that is going to be the longest drive home. Just getting into the flat part of Kansas for 8 straight hours. Oh man.
Yeah.
So Kansas kind of looking like Kansas, like what we thought they would be. That is very fun. 3 games in a row like this is tough. I want to pick Kansas because I think they're on a heater, but you look at the fact that even though they have very talented corners, the defensive scheme has gotten them in trouble. They've multiple games where they've given up 350 yards passing. Colorado might go for 420 in this game.
Yeah.
So give me, and they're running the ball okay. So give me the Buffaloes, but I would not be surprised if Kansas kept it going and eventually made a bowl because they had all that hype coming into the season for a reason. They're still good. They're just not built right. They kind of remind me of Colorado in 2023.
Yeah. Yeah, where it's a year ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they could be really, really good next year. I know they're going to lose quarterback,
Yeah.
running back, but they've got a lot of community investment, make a couple of coaching changes, and I think Kansas
depending
will
on
be
them
good.
corners, Hey, it's gonna be some big game hunting on Kansas roster. I'm gonna tell you that much. Hey,
Yeah.
them corners. If they not headed to the league, it's gonna cost a lot to keep them. All right, so we got Army at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's favored by 14 and a half. And Notre Dame, when they played the last Service Academy Navy, they beat Navy. What the hell they beat? They beat Navy by like 1,000,000.
Yes. Ruined Navy
And
season.
it was 51-14. So so that means that they are used to playing against that triple option. They know how to do it. They've already done it successfully. Notre Dame is 14 and a half point favorites. And remember, the beginning of the season, who did I pick to be in the national championship and people called me crazy?
Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Notre Dame versus Oregon. Oh, George, you're crazy. Mm, mm. I'm just saying. Just saying. And they are going to beat the brakes off of Army, belt to ass.
It's probably better for college football if that happens, because with Army's final game being like after the bowl games already start,
Oh God, yes.
and potentially forcing the Big 12 out of the college football playoff altogether. The loser is out. Army is having a special season. Jeff Monken's an awesome coach, but I do want to see Bryson Daly go off in this game. You want your stars to look like stars in the big moments, and I
Yes.
don't think anybody's actually watched Bryson unless you're like a college football junkie. I don't think anybody's watched Bryson Daly play a full game. And this is
Yeah.
not somebody you're going to see really in the NFL. So this is your one opportunity. Highly recommend
No,
tuning
he's
into this
their
game.
leading. Think about this. He's their leading passer. He's thrown for 644 yards and 7 touchdowns this year, and he's rushed for 1,062 yards and 21 touchdowns.
And it might be, if they beat Notre Dame, it might be like the first 50 years of college football. You might have a member of a U.S. Service Academy standing on the Heisman stage.
Mm, that would be that would be something, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna take Notre Dame, and every one of this 14 and a half points.
I will join you.
All right, we got Kentucky, Texas. Texas is a 20 and a half point favorite. This game is
So
either going to
much.
go one of two ways because this is how 4-6 Kentucky, 1-6 in the SEC Kentucky goes. Their lone win in the SEC is against Ole Miss. They damn near beat Georgia. They put Georgia in a headlock. So they're either going to put Texas in a headlock and win a one-score game and lose a one-score game, or they are going to lose by 1,011,000.
What is the maximum amount of points you think Kentucky can score against Texas? The most.
Let's try. Okay,
They're not going to get to 20.
mm, so they scored 20 against Ole Miss. I'm not going to count that Ohio game because where they scored 41 points. Ralph, the 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 highest amount of points that they've scored the entire season. They scored 31 versus SMU, who fired their head coach and is terrible. Then they scored 6, 12, 41 versus Ohio. That doesn't count. And neither does the 48 against Murray State. So